Shanghai's confession to Tan Songyun sets the internet ablaze. In a moment out of a romantic epic, Shanghai stepped forward under a sea of lights and cameras. The world paused. His voice trembled, yet firm, as he spilled words long held in the deepest chambers of his heart, and in a heartbeat the world shifted. Online platforms exploded with reactions, hearts pounded, screens glowed, eyes widened, and for fans of both stars, reality transformed into a story more vibrant than fiction. It began with a hush, then cameras buzzed, whispers raced, friends gasped. It was as if the entire world leaned in to catch each syllable, each pulse of breath, each shift in posture, each blink carried meaning. Picture this: Shanghai standing on a balcony overlooking a glittering skyline, his silhouette cut sharp against the night sky. A single soft breeze stirred strands of his hair, the bright city lights painted his face in highlights and shadows. He raised his hand to steady himself, maybe to brace for what he was about to say. He looked into the camera as though it were the eyes of a single person across the world. He spoke. Her name came out as both question and declaration, an electric chord that rippled outward, a confession, simple, direct, but laden with years of unwritten chapters. In that moment, time slowed, the air crackled with unspoken tension, and then the world ignited. Online, the reaction was instantaneous. Fandom forums burst into fervor. Trending hashtags trended so fast it was as though the keyboards themselves caught fire. Screenshots of his expression flooded platforms. Memes bloomed like wildflowers. Reaction videos proliferated. Fans edited together slow-motion replays of his every gesture, adding music, voiceover commentary, and glowing subtitles that felt both celebratory and intimate. In other corners of the web, bloggers and columnists dissected every nuance, the tilt of his head, the clarity in his eyes, the way his voice wavered, then studied the timing of the confession, the choice of venue, the ambient atmosphere, all points of analysis in a symphony of fascination. Meanwhile, fans crafted creative responses, songs, poems, visual art, dance covers. They made her name cascade across digital galleries. Hearts followed each thread, comments filled with awe, celebration, longing, hope. Some fans spoke of how they watched his career blossom. Others said they'd held their breath waiting for a moment like this. Others confessed they had waited years for him to voice these words, and the floodgates of emotions broke open. The platform metrics spoke for themselves, and then some. The clip of Shanghai's confession raced to the top of trending hours, had views climbing so fast it was dizzying. Likes, comments, reposts multiplied as though propelled by a powerful current. Each new viewer a fresh wave of excitement, each viewer primed to tell someone else, to watch, to relive, to feel. Let us revisit that cinematic moment from another angle. Let us zoom into the space around Shanghai. He was framed by soft, glowing lights. Suspended microphones hovered like stars, capturing every murmur. His attire, simple, elegant, yet tailored. The fabric caught the light in subtle ways like dew on petals, and behind him the city skyline shimmered like a galaxy come alive. On the balcony edge, a wind flickered, sending ripples over a tablecloth as if nature itself acknowledged the moment. It bent in harmony with his words. He paused mid-phrase, his breath visible in the calm before the storm of emotion. The confession hung pregnant in the air like a chord awaiting resolution. Then he finished, and once his words were out, the world exhaled and poured itself into a torrent of response. Meanwhile, Tan Songyun's reaction became another story, entirely a separate scene, but tightly interwoven. Fans across fan circles pieced together clips from her rehearsals, interviews, public appearances, trying to see how she might receive such words. Would she smile, nearly blush, maybe glance away momentarily? Before looking back, her fans debated and watched for any sign of response. They played old clips of her looking thoughtful, expression unreadable, maybe hesitant, or hopeful. They rewound moments where she glanced off camera, perhaps catching his eye. Late-night talk show appearances where maybe they exchanged knowing glances. Off-screen footage fueled speculation. Then commentators and reporters ran speculative headlines over and over. They asked, could it be mutual? Was this an act of courage or calculated charm? Did he plan this confession as a public turning point, or was it raw and spontaneous, like a flicker caught on film before it fades? Could this spark something new between two beloved stars, or is it a standalone moment destined to remain poetic memory? Whatever the outcome, the internet had been transformed. In city cafes, television monitors replayed the moment. The confession became cultural conversation. In restaurants, customers paused mid-bite to lean forward and ask their neighbor if they'd caught the clip. That one confession had become a shared global happening. Fans in distant places set up watch parties. Some streamed the moment live during replays, 50,000 eyes on a single moment, and then another 20,000 joined. Organized commentary came online with running translations, expert breakdowns of body language, voice cadence. Then fan communities sent supportive messages to both stars, flooding social media timelines with virtual bouquets, messages of encouragement. Sometimes the tone was playful, sometimes protective, ideals and dreams wrapped into digital form. At midnight, global time zones lit up with replays in Asia. Enthusiasts watched T in hand, the video on repeat in Europe. Fans pictured morning coffee with notifications chime in the Americas. Friends awakened to find their screens alight, petals of excitement from the scene. Journalist commentaries dissected how this would affect their careers. Hypotheses emerged. Could drama's upcoming marketing tie-ins be reshaped? Would brands realign ads? Could they appear together in projects? Would the industry notice this moment as narrative pivot? Some fans speculated of a possible rom-com announcement. Others said even if no official project came, the emotional weight of that confession would linger in hearts and headlines alike. And yet behind all the internet riot, the core remained simple, yet stunning. One person spoke what perhaps others dared not to. Open one's heart in public takes boldness and vulnerability and a leap into the unknown, and that raw human gesture landed like a meteor across the digital sky, leaving trails of light and wonder. Let us linger again on that moment, as though time were elastic. The camera's lens recorded his expression, the small catch in his voice as his breath and emotion intertwined, a single point where his personal truth spilled outward into the collective subconscious. We saw his courage, we felt his longing, we shared in the release of something long withheld, and that resonance is what turned a simple confession into a global phenomenon. Online, the threads of this moment wove into fan creations. One after another, love-filled fan art popped up overnight, portraits crowded with dreams and starlight, scenes of imagined embrace framed against moonlit skies, lyrics composed as gentle sonnets in soft fonts, stories unfolding with him and her across dramatic landscapes, a world within each creation, and yet every piece rooted in the shared reality of that one confessed phrase. And then the music creators stepped in. Cover artists performed acoustic versions of the phrase in song. Fans layered gentle piano, guitars, voice harmonies into dreamlike soundscapes set to slow pan visual edits of that balcony moment. Each rendition a tribute, each echo a celebration of connection. Let us not forget pundits who spoke of celebrity culture and emotion. They said that in a world often curated and distant, his admission peeled away filters and revealed something plain and luminous: the longing for connection, the desire to be seen and understood. Gestures like this invite us across limits into the humanity of another individual, and fans responded with empathy, cheering that human heart laid bare. Yet others pondered the nature of public confessions in modern fame. Is it authentic expression or a carefully orchestrated moment? Does the meaning change when captured by millions? Does sincerity survive the glare of fame? Does affection become performance when broadcast? Which brings us to the deeper resonance. Here we find something that transcends the moment, something alive in the folds of human longing for connection across distance, across fame, across screens. It whispers in the stillness after the cameras fade, after the comments slow down. In personal reflection, we realize even if the confession was practiced, even if it was staged, the longing behind it is familiar. We've longed to speak ourselves, to voice what we feel in the quiet of our own hearts, to risk letting feeling break through, to find someone anywhere who will respond, to make our inner world spill out and meet another person's unknown or waiting, or too shy opening. Somewhere beyond the spectacle, there lies tenderness. So this confession became more than a headline, more than fandom fuel, more than a scene. It became a moment of human reflection. It became a moment of permission to feel and to speak and to hope. At the close of that night, screens dimmed, but the echo persisted. The world carried images of that balcony scene into dreams, into tomorrow, into conversation with loved ones, shared in whispered thrills, pauses in public spaces, and the names Shanghai and Songyun became entwined in narrative newly born. And though the future remains unwritten, though no one knows if more scenes await, or if this memory will stand alone, it has already achieved something remarkable. It has awakened hearts, it has coaxed out words long held silent, it has dazzled with sincerity and daring. In the end, perhaps that is why the internet exploded, dreaming dreams across servers and screens, hearts and pixels, why we lean in for human pulses, even when mediated by light beams, why a voice saying a few simple words can send shockwaves across continents. Let this confession stand as a testament to the power of intention and feeling. Let it linger in the mind, not as fleeting spectacle, but as a beating star mid-fall lighting the sky. Let it remind us that sometimes all it takes is a single phrase spoken in courage to shift the world just enough. And that is not small, it is luminous, it is thrilling, it is exactly what we needed. The moment the sky held its breath, the sky seemed to lean closer. In the seconds before Shanghai spoke, the air stilled in a way that made people across the globe sit up unknowingly. Something ancient in the atmosphere recognized a shift, as if time itself bent slightly to accommodate what was about to happen. Some moments are so sharply etched into the fabric of reality, they don't need announcement. They speak in silences before words. Shanghai stood motionless, not like a man afraid, but like a man who had already made peace with the weight of his words. The setting was not accidental. He stood on the rooftop of a towering building in downtown Shanghai. Behind him, the city glowed in endless motion, skyscrapers flashing like mirrored galaxies. The skyline stretched endlessly, every window lit up with life. Yet somehow, in that instant, Shanghai stood utterly alone in focus. Spotlights were dimmed to gold. A single warm hue washed across him, lighting his expression in a dreamlike filter. He had just wrapped an award speech. Cameras had captured the formalities. The smile, the polite applause, the grateful nods. But something was stirring beneath that polished exterior, a friction building quietly with every beat of his heart. He had rehearsed something entirely different. Or maybe he had not rehearsed at all. Maybe this had simply lived inside him too long, pacing like a caged tiger, clawing at the bars of his silence. As the host turned to move on, Shanghai raised a hand. The host froze. The audience leaned in. Even those watching from behind screens at home felt it, a tingling electricity spreading like ink in water. "I have something I need to say," he began, voice steady, yet laced with something raw. Not vulnerability, not weakness, but the rare clarity that comes from being unable to lie to yourself anymore. He turned slightly toward the camera. It felt like he turned toward her. Songyun, he said. Just her name. Nothing more. And yet everything. It rang out not just in the hall, but across a million living rooms, train rides, classrooms, cafes. The sound of her name in his voice was a match struck in the middle of a moonless night. It lit something unspeakable. The crowd didn't make a sound. Shanghai blinked slowly, as if steadying himself against a wave. Sometimes, he continued, voice quieter, we wait too long to say what matters. The silence now was deafening. The kind of silence that wraps around your neck and makes you forget to breathe. I've been holding this for years, he added, and his hand unconsciously moved to his chest, as though trying to keep something from bursting through his ribs. Not because I didn't feel it, but because I didn't know if the world would allow me to say it. Somewhere in the audience, phones trembled in hands. On social media, timestamps froze. Comments stopped. Viewers stared without blinking, suspended. I've watched you grow, he continued, and now his voice cracked, not dramatically, but just enough to reveal the tremble beneath the surface. I've watched you carry the weight of 1,000 expectations with grace. I've seen you smile through storms, laugh in rooms that never deserved your light. And I've stayed silent, because I thought I wasn't allowed to want something so bright. He looked down for a beat, then back up. But tonight, I don't want to hide. At this point, cameras caught the faces of guests in the room. Some covered their mouths in shock. Some clutched their seats. Some whispered, "Is this real?" Like the confession had taken them into a film where they were no longer audience, but participants. And then came the line that would set the internet on fire. I don't know what you feel. I don't even know if this is the right time. But I would regret it for the rest of my life if I didn't say it tonight. I see you. I admire you. And I have for longer than anyone knows. It wasn't loud. It wasn't grand. But it was real. And sometimes real is louder than fireworks. Backstage, assistants froze mid-task. One stylist dropped a curling iron. A makeup artist gasped. Soo-kai had gone off script in the most explosive way possible. And yet, no one could look away. "I know you probably didn't expect this," he added, the edge of a smile playing on his lips, but everything in me said I couldn't keep quiet any longer. The camera caught his hand tightening into a fist and releasing, almost as if he was physically willing his fear to exit through his fingertips. Then he stepped back. No dramatic exit. No mic drop. Just a single deep breath and a look skyward, where the stars blinked as though nodding in silent approval. The aftershock begins. Within seconds, the feed had cut, but it was already too late. Social media had detonated. The moment was clipped and replayed on loop by fans, analysts, and reporters alike. Comment sections filled so fast that platforms struggled to keep up. The words "he said her name" trended in over a dozen countries. More tellingly, people were not just reacting, they were reliving. Everyone remembered their own unsaid confessions. Everyone saw themselves in that raw moment of risk. It wasn't just about Soo-kai and Tan Songyun anymore. It was about every heart that had ever stayed quiet. The fandom spun into motion. Fan fiction writers began scribbling chapters before the night ended. Artists rushed to paint the moment under the stars. Poets posted verse after verse that captured the heartbreak and wonder of it all. Viewers who had never followed celebrity news found themselves captivated by the honesty of it. For once, this wasn't about gossip, it was about guts. Meanwhile, Tan Songyun's camp had gone completely silent. No public statement. No post. Not even a repost of the awards event. And that silence made everything louder. Reporters speculated she was overwhelmed. Some said she had left early. Others swore she was still backstage, head in hands, processing what had just happened. But the truth? The truth remained hers to hold. What mattered more was that Soo-kai had leapt, and the entire world had watched. A confession under city lights. A voice carrying through the sky. A name spoken like a secret finally released into the world. In that moment, the world was not divided by borders or screens. It was united in the pure, terrifying, heart-stopping act of someone simply telling the truth. And if that is not cinematic, what is?